appreciate the opportunity to be able to actually speak to you today about something that is not only my occupation, but I am truly, truly passionate about, and that is helping people navigate the confusing nutritional world so that you can make improvements in your baseline health and things that you can start implementing literally today that can move the needle on your health span 80%. Oh, wow. So when we think about to try and figure out what is health, we have to look at what is a healthy diet, because quite frankly, as Dr. Mark Hyman says, food is medicine. And it is truly one of the single most important things you can start to make choices about that will impact your health beginning right away. So what is healthy food? That's going to be a bigger part of our conversation, which we'll get to shortly. And I hope everybody got a handout. If not, we'll get to that in just a moment. Another thing that we want to talk about is what is a healthy diet? And that word diet is something that I think confuses people a lot, because diet connotates that there's a beginning and an end. And any healthy diet is a lifestyle. It means that it will survive holidays, parties, cruises, Christmas, summer vacations. It's a way for you to have the pieces of the puzzle to know how to make choices that support how you want to look, feel, and move in the world. So I'm hoping that today, as we talk through some things, feel free to ask questions that come up throughout the conversations. We don't have to say anything till the end, and we'll just work through it, okay? So what are 3 areas, if there are just 3 things that you can start to do today to improve your health? Number 1 is going to be limit the feeding window. Number 2 is going to be eliminate all junk and seed oils. And number 3 is going to be reducing processed foods and sugar in your diet. Those 3 things, that's it. And again, this will move the needle. This is 80% of the battle. You start working on those 3 things and you've moved the needle on your health line. So, feeding window. Intermittent fasting is a big thing right now. Has anybody heard of that? So what does that actually mean? And why are people losing weight? Because of course, in our marketing industry, everything is tied to how do I lose weight? And we use intermittent fasting as this tool. The real benefit of intermittent fasting is not weight loss. It's about what it does physically in your body by relieving it of constantly needing to digest food. We are not beings that have evolved as fast as our food supply and access has. We are not designed to eat 24/7, even though we have food and beverage available to us. Our bodies need periods of time where they're not focused on digesting food, where all of its resources are used to digesting and processing, hopefully, nutrients that we've ingested. They need other periods of time to work on the other bodily processes, like restoration, rejuvenation. So by limiting a feeding window, in an ideal feeding window for most of us is 6 to 8 hours a day. So I want you to think about that. If you were to condense the time in any given day that you are going to put food in your body from a 6 to 8 hour window, what time of day would you start eating and what time of day would you stop eating? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the idea of intermittent fasting is that, okay, on a day that, or start with a 10-hour window if this is going to be challenging, because if we think about how early we get up, I'm often up at 4:35 a.m. in the morning. So when do I start eating? It depends on what I've got going on that night. It means I have to plan ahead, right? Because just like I figure out my workload, my client load, I have to look at my health load. And that's something that for me is very important. How do I plan if we're going out to dinner at 7 o'clock at night? When do I start feeding myself during the day so that I'm still working on my insides? And that's how you start to backtrack. When do I start eating? When do I stop eating? Ideally, you want food off of your stomach 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. So think about when you're eating dinner. So it's not when you start eating dinner, it's when you finish eating dinner, right? Because it's not when you start. So if dinner's at 6, what time are you finished? and that's your 2-hour window. Now we're gonna do our best to try and backtrack to figure out our feeding window. So I'll give you an example. On a given day, I will wake up in the morning. I always have my coffee prepared. I do it the night before because I like my coffee cold. I don't like it hot. So I get up in the morning and I have a large 32-ounce bottle of ice water that I usually consume within the first 2 hours of waking. This is something that gets our system processing, and it also helps reset and rehydrate from a night of sleep, which our body has gone through processes of restoration, rejuvenation, right? So we're generally waking up in a state of dehydration. And then I use my coffee, and my coffee usually has some form of collagen powder in it and some kind of an oil, like an MCT oil or a coconut cream or something of that nature. So I'm not technically eating, but I'm putting something in my body that my body can utilize. And my first meal isn't until 10 or 12. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you differentiate that from eating? So you're saying I'm giving my body nourishment. To me, whether you're chewing it or drinking it, it's the same thing. So I'm just trying to.
So that breaks down to, does it move the level of insulin in your system? Okay. So when you bring in, say, coffee with a little bit of oil, what it does is it keeps insulin stable. Blood sugar doesn't go up and down. So it technically doesn't break your fast. At least that's what the study showed.
Okay.
Right
So is it like level of carbs or something that you're, like what do you use as your like?
So usually it's an MCT oil,
Right.
And Bulletproof is one of the ones I like because it stays liquid, whether it's cold or warm. And unlike coconut cream, which is one of my, I'll alternate month to month because I like to play with different fats. But MCT oil is probably one of the most stable, most interesting. So it gives me a little bit of energy in the morning as well. It's working with my coffee and my water, and it's not changing my baseline insulin level, so I'm not getting a spike first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I've tried MCT oil before, but it upsets my stomach. Is there maybe a time frame that it won't do that because it's so new in my system?
So my suggestion would be use less of it.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
use a little bit less of
Bulletproof,
it.
it was already made.
Bulletproof, they have the one that's a green label, they've got an orange label and a green label. I like the green label, it's called C8, MCT C8. And C8 is the type of medium chain triglyceride that's in there. That one happens to have caprylic acid, and that works really well on our intestinal system. Yeah. So we limit the feeding window. So my first meal may be about 10 a.m., it may be noon, it may be 2 p.m. And that just depends on what's happening in the daytime. When we limit our feeding window, the idea is, one of the worst things that's come out of gyms is this idea of eating all these small meals, snacking all day long. Terrible, terrible idea. It's designed for bodybuilders. Bodybuilders are working toward a very specific goal when they're getting ready on stage. And that's about keeping their metabolism stoked as high as possible, and you do that by constantly putting wood on the fire. That's not what works for us day in, day out, and it doesn't help you from a baseline health standpoint because your body's constantly firing. Does that make sense? So you want to get down to 2 meals a day to 3 meals a day. And each one of those meals should be nutritionally balanced. Now what I mean by that is whether you're vegan, vegetarian, paleo, pescatarian, carnivore, it doesn't matter. Your meals contain the macronutrients, which are protein, high quality fat, and some form of vegetable fiber. We'll come to carbohydrates later on. And that's it. So when you put those in proper proportions, and it's gonna be different from everybody, for everybody, right? The idea that somebody can give you a meal plan that's based on what other people are doing isn't very realistic because all of us have different needs. And as women, our needs change throughout the month very differently than men's. So we may have to ramp up some of those macronutrients at times and drop them out at other times. But that's where you start to listen to your body because your body's very intuitive. Cravings, so I want to address cravings. So when we talk about a nutritionally balanced meal, if you're craving sugar, salt, those are really 2 of the cravings. They come from one of generally 3 places. Either you've got a medical condition that can create salt cravings, right? You could be out of balance. Your electrolytes could be out of balance, and that's why you're craving salt. If you're craving potato chips, That's not an electrolyte imbalance. Sugar. If you're craving sugar, it's because you ate an unbalanced meal. And I would encourage you to increase your fat content and your protein content. Not vegetable and not fruit. So if you're craving sugar, it's because your meals weren't balanced. You didn't give your body what it needs. Yes, ma'am?
So I grew up in an Italian household.
Pasta.
Yes, so pasta especially, but then dessert wasn't optional, it just was. So cannolis, tiramisu, things like that. So I realized as an adult, I crave dessert but I think that's more of a habitual thing, right? Just because like that's what I've had my entire life.
That's the third one,
Oh.
habit.
Oh, okay.
That's the third one. So medical condition, unbalanced meal, or habit. And that's it. That's where cravings come from. And it doesn't mean that they're good or bad. It means you then get to decide, am I eating this because I want it? Am I eating this because my body is telling me I'm lacking something that I need? And that's again about listening to your body. What do you need to look, feel, and function the way you want to in your life? And it's gonna be different for every one of us. So habits are something that are not easy to break, because especially habits that are tied to food. Oh my gosh, their birthdays, their Christmas, their celebrations, their anniversary. That creates a complete physiological reaction in our body. But there are ways to temper those. So if dessert is something that's not just habit, but something that you wanna have, right? Or we're gonna go out for an anniversary celebration. We want to have the whole meal. I wanna have wine, I wanna have a nice appetizer, we wanna have dinner, we wanna share a dessert. You just make other choices that help keep those things in balance nutritionally. If I'm drinking wine, I'm not eating bread. Carbs, I'm drinking my carbs, right? Not eating bread, not having anything that's carb-based on my plate, no potatoes, no rice, no croutons on my salad. Drinking my carbs. Leaving room for something with that dessert. Sugar is a carbohydrate. We'll get to sugar soon. So I'm gonna make other choices with my meal that balance that out so that my body is still in a fairly nutritionally even plane, and my insulin levels stay stable. That's a big piece of controlling. Yes, ma'am?
Just a quick thought, what you said before about with small meals keeping the body burning. Why is it bad to keep the body burning? Doesn't that mean it's constantly burning calories?
Yes and no. If your body is metabolically flexible, which means that you are insulin sensitive and not insulin resistant, it could be for a period of time, but it also stokes the body so high by increasing your metabolism so high that it can burn out your adrenals and your thyroid. So it's not a healthy state long term. Our bodies are designed to adapt and perform better when they have what's called hormetic stress. Hormetic stress is periods of induced stress that force the body to react and respond and adapt. Exercise, going long periods of time without food so that it can pull from its reserves, without your blood sugar and insulin crashing. Those are hormetic stressors, and those make our body very, very resilient. So that constant feeding also pulls from other resources. If you're digesting food, your brain isn't fully functioning. The resources are here. Our bodies do better with single, spaced out meals that are balanced. Now, when you get to a point where you're starting to balance your meals and limiting your feeding window, I encourage you to play with things like, if you're normally a 3 meal a day eater, go to 2 meals. See how your body responds, because ideally what's gonna happen when you're giving it what it needs, when you go for a longer period of time without food, you're not gonna dip. That's adaptability, that's flexibility, and that serves you very, very well. Or you do what's called an OMAD, 1 meal a day. It means the majority of the calories you're gonna take in any given day are done in 1 meal. It needs to be a substantial meal, but by doing this with your body every once in a while, it's very, very good, again, for this hormetic stress and adaptability, and it helps with insulin resistance, keeping us metabolically flexible.
So my husband does 1 meal a day, not for health reasons, just because
It's Byron time.
his name is Byron. It's Byron.
It's Byron.
Just sort of roll with it. I think he gets busy and he's lazy. He doesn't want to pack a So, like, but he does that, I mean, long term. He's up at 4 exercising. He won't eat, like last night he didn't eat till 7 p.m.
What time does he go to bed?
9.
And then he's up at 4.
Yep.
So the question is, how does he feel? Is he building up or is he tearing down? Is he storing fat? Is he resting well? Is he able to build muscle or not? Is he able to sleep through the night and actually wake up rested? So OMAD's not bad, but if you do it every single day, now again, you've changed flexibility. It's like going to the gym, right? So we all know you can't not exercise for years and then go to the gym for 9 hours and expect the body to change. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way with food either. It takes periods of adaptability, and it's something you need constant attention to every single day. That you actually put thought into versus it being something that becomes a burden or a nemesis that we have to deal with. But if he's only doing 1 meal a day, absolutely no flexibility, he may or may not be metabolically flexible. I'd be curious where his A1C is, right, in terms of that scale. And it easily.
All the men in his family are diabetics.
So it may not be the best thing for him.
I was gonna say, we got a couple red flags going on there.
It may not-
Just from what I've learned this morning.
It may not be the best thing, and that's also, now we get back to the habit part, and that's one of the hardest things to change. We have so much in our lives that keep us so busy and so occupied. Prioritizing your health. If we've learned nothing from COVID, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. Nothing else matters. Prioritizing your health, what you put in your body, how you respond to food, how you allow it to nourish you in multiple ways, physiologically, is so important. And it's the easiest thing to change, literally today. Easiest thing to bring in. So let's talk about the second thing. I hope all of you have this sheet. Eliminating junk and seed oils. Oh, here, I'll grab it.
Sorry, that's my bad.
Eliminating junk and seed oils. Grab one of these back here too.
Chicken nuggets.
So this is a really handy list. There's plenty of them online. What you're looking for, now there's a difference between junk oils and healthy and unhealthy fats and the variation, but they are all tied together. And it's a pretty deep conversation. So having a cheat sheet with you when you go grocery shopping. So here's basically the rule. Canola, safflower, sunflower, vegetable, corn oil, any of those processed seed oils are junk. They're complete junk. They create damage in the body. They destroy your intestinal lining, and they lead to things like leaky gut and diverticulitis. They're junk oils. What you want to look for is things that are closer to nature that naturally have oil in them, like avocado oil, olive oil. That comes from pressing the oil out of the fruit itself. So I want to walk you through how seed oils are made. Corn, soybean oil, all of that. And unfortunately, this is very prevalent in any processed food you buy. All the ingredients on, I found this bag of kale chips when kale, as Michael likes to say, what a great PR company kale has. Kale's not the healthiest food for you, but there's a variety of reasons for that. Kale chips, so it had all these great things, no other chemicals but canola oil. That negates everything else. That bag is now junk food. It's completely useless. So here's what happens with seed oils and processed vegetable oils that don't have natural oil. There's one or two ways for them to extrude or extract the oil out. It's a chemical process that's used to extract and then separate, or it's a heating process that's used. When they extract that, the oil turns rancid. They then have to deodorize the oil with a chemical deodorizer, and the oil is generally discolored because it's been cooked or processed, so they bleach it. Vegetable oil was originally a byproduct found back by, I think it was the Kellogg Company in the 40s, and it was used for lubricating automobiles. It is not for your body. You got Crisco in your pantry, you got Mazzola in your pantry, throw it out. You throw it out, don't use it, it is not good. You wanna stick with other high quality oils. So look online, this is just an easy cheat sheet. When you're looking at foods in the store, and I'm a pretty careful label reader, but every once in a while, foods that I thought or at one point had olive oil in it, there's a, Trader Joe's is one of my favorite places to shop. They have a really good vegan pesto that's just delicious. And it used to be made with olive oil, and sometime during COVID with supply, it got switched to canola oil. So it was something that I loved, I used regularly, and eventually I don't buy anymore because that single ingredient, it's that damaging to your body and your health. Any questions on oil?
What was the vegetable oil that's not on here?
Vegetable oil itself, anything that even says vegetable oil like Mazzola,
Oh,
Crisco,
okay.
right? The healthy fats, remember Grandma used to save the bacon grease?
Yes.
That's healthy fat. Duck fat is really healthy fat. Tallow, all this stuff is available in the grocery store now. You can get all of it. Wagyu, I actually have a container, it's a 2-pound container, Wagyu beef tallow. It is delicious. Really good, high quality, grass-fed, grass-finished butter. Kerrygold is one of the brands that's really good. There's a phenomenal app. If any of you are on Instagram, his name is, I forget his first name, last name Parrish, Flav City, Flavcity. Download the app. You can go anywhere, Costco, anywhere. You scan it and he gives you the ingredients that you want to look out for. He's a great guy. He's got tons of videos. He's hysterical. He's always creating new recipes with his daughter, but you can go anywhere. Kroger, Meyer, scan it, and it'll show you what to look, if it's a yes or a no, basically. Why you bring it in or why you wouldn't. All right, let's talk about the biggie. Reducing processed foods and sugar. So processed foods is also confusing. What is a processed food? So a potato, we're just gonna take a potato. A potato out of the ground, you buy at the store, whole potato. That's not a processed food, right? That's whole food. So let's say you've got a potato, but it's in the frozen food section. All they've done is they've cut it up, they've added nothing else, they probably steamed it just a little bit, maybe put a little bit of salt, possibly even citric acid. And it's frozen, flash frozen. That's what you call a minimally processed food. Ultra processed food is now it's French fry with batter and seasonings and blank, and xanthium gum and all these other things. Now that's what we start to get to ultra processed. Does that make sense? So that's how you start to figure out what things are. The real food is on the perimeter of the store. It's food that spoils. It's not stuff that has an indefinite shelf life. Real food spoils. You have to replace it regularly and frequently. That's real food. That's food that our body can glean nutrients from. 73% of all the food in grocery stores is ultra processed. So that means you are not gleaning any nutrient. Your system is not able to glean nutrients out of those foods because there are no nutrients in those foods. There's nothing for your body to utilize. So when we think of food, it falls into, well, let's talk about this first. So for all the things we are as a being, if we try to distill it down to science terms, we're a 30-foot refinery tube. Our body literally is a 30-foot tube trying to figure out what goes in and how it comes out and what it can do along the way, right? So if we start to think about foods, let's think about them in two categories, nutrient and non-nutrient. So nutrient means from the minute you put it in your mouth, your salivary glands are already, they're going to work, your saliva, how do I break this down? Where do I use it in my system? What part of my system utilizes it? How do I create or generate energy from it? And then how do I eliminate it? In a timely fashion, right? That's nutrient-dense foods. Non-nutrient is don't have what I need to break it down, need to push it through the body with hopefully not creating or exacerbating damage, and how much energy will it take for me to rid myself of it? That's it. It's an easy way to start to categorize foods. Nutrient and non-nutrient. Can I use it and create energy, or will it cost me energy to rid myself of it and create tertiary damage along the way? And when you start looking at packaged food, and I'm actually just gonna push some of these around for you to look at the nutrient labels, because it's very confusing. Do that. And I tried to bring junk food from my pantry. So this is junk food that's in, this is junk food that's in our pantry. This is
They make it to your house now, so you're saying?
This is stuff that's in my house, that's in my pantry. So when you look at a nutritional label, and this is another reason foods are confusing. It's deceptive marketing practices. One of the things that you'll see on every one of these labels, listed under nutrition facts, sugar. Sugar is not a nutrient.
I feel like next time you should bring some snacks that the rest of us would have in our fridge, like, or in our cupboard, like Doritos, you know, maybe some
I
cereal
wasn't sure, I
bars.
was gonna stop at Kroger on the way
Cheeses,
this morning.
Cheez-Its is good. When I eat the reduced fat Cheez-Its, that counts for something, right? I like the way they taste better.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's probably even worse.
So when you think about it, even the implication that sugar is on this label implies it is a nutrient. We have no, but look at the DV. There is no recommended daily value because it is a non-nutrient food. In fact, it is a non-nutrient period, not a food, right? Now, does that mean that all food is bad? Absolutely not. Food is something that you bring in moderation, and you treat fruit like you would dessert, right? It's a special occasion. Enjoy it seasonally, right? Enjoy fruit seasonally. It's not a daily requirement by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it essential. Our body creates all the sugar it needs.
So apple a day doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't mean, if you like apples, right, I'm not saying don't eat apples. The question is, how can I make that treat? Because now it's a treat. How can I make that more nutritious for my body? What about a high quality almond butter with that, right? So now I've added some protein and some fat, and I've got fiber from the apple, which is good, right?
I use peanut butter, but maybe
Almond butter is more nutritious, so it's just about making swaps, right? If you like peanut butter, peanuts are not nuts. They're a very high mold food. So if you really like peanut butter, get the best quality you can find that you can afford, or start to switch to something that's a higher nutrient butter, macadamia nut butter, mixed nut butters, hazelnut butters, walnut butter.
hazelnut butter though can be sugar.
So not talking Nutella. That's not nut butter. That's dessert. But there's hazelnut butter.
Okay.
Right, there's hazelnut butter. Almonds are by and large pretty nutritious, but there's a lot of people who don't respond to almonds, so pay attention to it. There's a thing called phthalates in them that can irritate you. Yes.
You said stay away from seed oils, but then you're talking about almond butter, well, I guess that's nuts. So
Those are
then-
nuts.
Yeah, so.
And they have naturally extract, you can naturally extract oil from them.
But when it comes to like the diverticulitis and stuff, they stay away from seeds and nuts.
You have to.
Yeah.
Until you can get the diverticulitis reconciled. And things like IBS and diverticulitis, now diverticulitis moves to a category where you've actually got damage, right? IBS means we have no idea what's causing your issues.
Right.
That's what it means.
So then pumpkin seeds stay away from.
So anything that's seed that can get stuck when you've got diverticulitis is something you want to avoid.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you need to grind it down.
But, so if it's a
Yes,
formula.
right, you need to grind it down, because those little pieces, even things like chia seeds and flax seeds, can create issue. Hemp nuts, hemp hearts, very high in protein, they're a great thing, I love them in my yogurt. So it's a really good way to add protein, healthy fat, and round out a protein meal. Yes, ma'am?
So let's say that, you had a really, really stressful day, and at the end of the day, you're like, I gotta have Taco Bell for my mental health, right? Because that's important too.
Yes, it is.
How do you then, because then your body, if you're doing this consistently, your body's not going to respond well to that, you're not gonna feel the greatest. What is a way to then kind of bounce that back, to like say, okay, I had this splurge night, I'm accepting it was good for my mental health, today's a new day, what can I do to kind of like start that?
Get back to normal.
Cleanse, yeah, cleanse.
No, don't cleanse. You don't cleanse. So here's the thing. If you want pizza, eat pizza. Right? You want Taco Bell, eat Taco Bell. But if you're eating really well, 90% of the time, that one Taco Bell is probably gonna make you feel a little uncomfortable,
Right.
because your body very quickly will adapt to nutritious food. It's what it wants, because it can use it. And it will over time reject those other foods. And you'll find that even though it's habit, because of the way it makes you feel over time, you probably won't want it as much. I've been in this business this field for just over 30 years. And it is amazing what happens when you really start feeding your body, when you make the decision, I'm going to give my body what it can use. I'm gonna think about food as function. I don't wanna take away the romance and the pleasure and the fun, because you don't have to. But right now, I'm gonna focus on food is function for me. I wanna turn some things around. Your body won't want those other things. It just won't. Yes?
We're down on dairy, so, for a lot of women, they have osteoporosis concerns, increasing calcium intake, and so we're encouraged to, take in more dairy.
It depends if you can tolerate it. So, I'm Dutch. I can eat a lot of cheese.
I can eat a lot of dairy.
I can eat a lot of cheese. I can't eat, but I bring that in again with balance, right? So, protein and fats and other things. So it's about finding your tolerance. And the question is, there are a lot of people who are lactose intolerant. How do you know? Have you really cleaned up your diet enough to know if it's the lactose? Is it gluten? Is it pesticides in some of your produce? Until you kind of clean things up, you really don't know. Now you could have an allergy, like a nut allergy. But the best way to find out if you can tolerate it or not is to clean it up, eliminate anything that says low fat, fat free, non-fat, not good for you. If they've taken out the fat, they've increased the sugar, they've increased guar gum, xanthan gum, other binders, things that make it thick. In the food industry, there's a thing called bliss point. And that's where they've created a frankenfood, taking out the expensive ingredients that spoil, and creating, through other chemicals, binders, gums, the same feel in your mouth. So it translates as the same thing. Anybody ever seen Halo ice cream?
Yes.
In the store bought it? Yes. Did you look at all the ingredients on there?
We had a sample.
Ice cream has egg yolks, cream, a bit of sugar, and fruit. Or they're flavored. That's ice cream. Your body knows what to do with that. It doesn't know what to do with that list. So if you're gonna eat ice cream, eat ice cream. Eat the real thing. You want pizza? Get the best you can buy, right? If you want something, eat as close to the real food as you possibly can and enjoy it. Don't make food good or bad. Nutrients, non-nutrient. That's it.
Are there any good cauliflower pizzas up there?
Yep. Well, there's good cauliflower pizza crust.
Yeah, it's crust.
Yes, and like Whole Foods has a couple, but you gotta check the oil. Because you gotta look for the one that has, I think it's called Capizano's plain crust. It's a cauliflower crust, but it's one of the only ones that doesn't have canola oil.
Oh, okay.
In it.
Well, I'm thinking like Judson's. Judson's has an awesome, they say it's a cauliflower pizza. It was so good, but I always, in the back of my mind, thinking, I don't know if this is like really cauliflower pizza.
Linda, I'm a pizza connoisseur, I'll text you with a couple places. Now they're in like Shelby Townships, they're
Oh, perfect,
North
yeah.
Sterling State, but.
That's my second time.
That's where we found a good cauliflower pizza place, little family joint.
Yeah,
Yes.
the best ones are from like the little family joints,
Yes.
Jets and stuff, I don't mess with that, cause it kind of upsets my stomach, but I think I'll.
Okay, yes,
Yeah, I'll look for
that'd be
sure.
awesome, yes.
You had a question?
I just wanted to say, if you wanna make your own, cauliflower crust pizza, you can take the cauliflower and pulverize it in a blender. I use a Vitamix. You can put eggs, or just the egg yolks in there, and really good Parmesan cheese, cause that's your binder.
Yeah.
And then you just press it out. It's only three ingredients.
You know, the other thing that's really nice about that is it's a way to, again, if we start to look at food, we don't have time to cook, we don't have time for this, we don't have time for whatever. Why not? Just make a little time. Maybe it's one night a week that you and your family try something different, right? It doesn't have to be, okay, we're clearing out the pantry, we're going healthy. Don't do that. Lateral movements. One night a week, we're gonna have a family night, or we're gonna go grocery shopping, we're gonna make some different choices, and then we're gonna prep some food. Right? There's a lot of resources around here for you don't have time to cook. Clean Eats on Walton Boulevard. Phenomenal food. No junk oils, no added sugars, no binders, no nothing. They've got stuff that you can pop in your freezer. That's right, they have another location. Phenomenal. You can go to Chipotle and get a decent meal. You just have to not eat the junk and don't eat all the pre-made sauces. You go out to dinner and you're gonna eat. When they serve your salad, always ask for the dressing on the side. Taste the dressing. You'll know. You can often tell just by the way things look, whether it's good or bad. I want to share a couple statistics with you, and then I want to give you a few resources. And of course, I'm available to any of you anytime. I'm going to make sure you can connect to me. This QR code will give you access to a shopping list that you can download, as well as a page of resources that if you want to start to take a deeper dive into your health and well-being, and I would encourage you. Health span, that term is not about increasing the years on this planet. It's about increasing the quality of your health in the days that you have. Doctors like Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Matthew Walker, Dr. David Sinclair, these are all docs. Dr. Robert Lustig sounded the alarm bells on high fructose corn syrup 17 years ago. Food industry did everything they could to shut him down. They couldn't do it. And now all of these docs are on the forefront of a new type of medicine, a new way of looking at our health, and a new way of you becoming the captain of your own ship, because that's the only way you're gonna fix it. The odds are stacked against us. The marketing companies, the food companies, quite frankly, food, this is my opinion, is big pharma. It is. You have to get very savvy at looking at what's on the labels, what you're putting in your mouth, listening to your body when your body's telling you, I don't feel so good. I wanna share just
Really quick,
Yes.
QR code, if you guys are scanning it right now, I don't know what's happening in my building, so it might not be loading. Is it loading? Okay, good.
Okay,
All right.
Then I've got one more to share with you. So I wanna share a couple of statistics with you, and this is to, I don't wanna say scare you, but to get you to think. So as I said earlier, 73% of all food in a grocery store is ultra processed. 68%, this is November 2022 statistics. 68% of that 73% has added sugars, unneeded added sugars in that. This is from the CDC. More than 37 million of people in the US have diabetes. 96 million, that's over a third, have pre-diabetes. If you go and get your blood checked and your A1C is over 5.0, you're on the road. It used to be 5.7. Do you know that they just changed it to 6.2? They've increased.
So then the health plan. Yeah.
That's right. If you are 5.0 or above, you are already on the road to pre-diabetes. And I encourage you to take a look at your food because you're working in that direction.
And you're saying that they'll allow up to 6.2.
Well now, so it used to be if you're over 5.2, 5.7, you are pre-diabetic type 2. And they now upped it to 6.2 because so many people are on that scale.
But you're saying anything above 5 is really just.
Start looking at
Okay.
it. Yep.
Plus your medications are causing increases in A1C.
That's a whole nother thing.
Don't get me started on that.
And of this 96 million, type 2 accounts for 90 to 95%. That is food-based. It's food and behavior. That's not type 1 diabetes. Type 1 and type 2 are not even the same thing. That is food based. It's what you're putting in your mouth. As Jim Rohn used to say, I think it was Jim Rohn, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, nothing goes in my mouth without my permission. It's a choice. Every single day, it's a choice. Zig Ziglar. Experts predict that 165 million Americans, that's 42%, will be obese by the year 2030. 100 million Americans, and that's 33%, will have diabetes by 2050. Currently, 1 in 5 children are obese.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fatty liver disease, and it's called NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is now being seen as young, in kids as young as 5 years old. 5 years old, and they have fatty liver disease. And of that age group, they're now, liver transplants make up not only for adults, but for young kids as little as the age of 15. And it's because of food. It's food. So I would encourage you, when you go to the store, parents, grandparents, and you're looking at something to get your grandkids or your kids, and you see that Oreos are on sale. Would you give your children gasoline? Because you are. It's not food. It's not even a real treat. Find a real treat. Find real ice cream. Give them real ice cream.
Do you know how hard it is to find real ice cream?
Yes, it is.
I went to Kroger, right? Because I'm like, I'm into ice cream. I'm gonna eat real ice cream. There's a wall of ice cream. There's nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. that
You've
is
gotta
natural.
find all natural.
Yeah,
Right, that's
it's
all
really
natural.
just
Everything
natural.
else has the
Don't
stabilizers and the gums. So I'm not saying you don't have, but there are cookies that expire, that don't have crap in them. Buy the closest to real food, or make cookies. I know that's not an easy thing to do. You can buy frozen batter that doesn't have all the crap in it, and it's frozen because it's not shelf stable, because it won't last 17 years, right? So buy that and bake those cookies. You can still have them, but just look for a better quality that's nutrient, non-nutrient. So my name's Rene Caruso. I do have one more slide that we'll share with you just at the end, and that's how we can connect on LinkedIn, because I really appreciate you being here. And if there's anything else I can do for you, I am the Director of Clinical Operations at Proactive IV, and we do work in the anti-aging and longevity field. We work in 3 main areas, and that's hormone optimization, IV nutrient supplement delivery, and peptides, as well as medical weight loss. We also do genetic testing, so that you can start to look at if you are making improvements in your life and you're trying to shift the needle, there are ways to actually test that now. Consistent ways to see if the changes that you're making are impacting your baseline health and if you're improving. Thank you so much, and I'm around for questions if you need anything. Thanks for having me.